I'm Andrew Kohinka. I'm here with Rocko English, and you are?
I'm Jack Yazgor, and I play the drums.
I'm Casey Brock, and I play guitar. And Cameron Kaiser isn't here. He's in Macon, Georgia, but together, the trifecta.
His spirit is here with us.
I can feel his presence.
It's a big presence. It's a lot of love.
I can really feel the love through your guys' history, just kind of, getting my notes together and everything. You guys have been together forever, it seems like, playing around, like, the entire state of Florida.
Yeah, just Florida.
Just Florida? Just Florida.
Never been out of state.
Never.
Any plans to play out of state?
We're on indefinite hiatus for right now, so it's tough.
It's tough. Well, you guys started sometime back in 2016, right?
Yes.
And you're all from South Florida, but did you guys start the band there, or did you meet somewhere else?
We met in Orlando. Well, we started, like you said, 2016. That was sophomore year. We were all friends freshman year, but we started the band sophomore year for sure. I remember we were still in an apartment, so it was pretty difficult. But me and Casey, we've known each other for a long time. You probably didn't get... if you got this far, I'd be surprised. But me and Casey had a band in 8th grade. Yeah, the Pajama People. Don't even look it up. I hope I've done my work and it doesn't exist anymore. That shit is embarrassing.
You can look up Pajama People. We covered, Arctic Monkeys. What else did we cover?
There was some Block Party.
Block Party.
Classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was pretty chill.
Yeah,
But-
so we were just hanging out, and I think the first iteration. Well, we went through so many iterations, but Rocko English really started. I had a friend at Sade actually, and we were in a club, and to raise money for the club, we'd have fundraiser parties, and there were actually some house shows going on. And I was in the club, so I was helping organize these shows, and we weren't really in a band yet. We were always messing around playing music through some other iterations, so we can get into that. But there's a long lineup to previous band names.
We'll start with the Rocko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Cam was playing in another band, and that band was pretty much was people were moving, that band was sort of ending, and I was like, we need a bass player, and I just reached out to Cam. He grew up 20 minutes from us down in South Florida, but we never knew him until we were up at college. We met him at UCF, and I was like, hey Sade, if I somehow make a band, can we play this house show? And so we just threw it together. Our first set, I think we had 3 originals and 3 covers. And now that I remember, actually me and Casey and Avery, because Rocko English actually started as a 4-piece.
Yeah, we used to have 2 guitars. Yeah, but...
And me and Casey spent that summer in between freshman and sophomore year when we had written 3 songs, and we showed them to the boys and we fleshed them out, and that was how the band started. Just total, like, on a whim, like, let's do this.
Yeah. And we didn't have a car. Everyone gave us rides everywhere.
You would walk down the street with skateboards.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Shout out to Jonathan.
Yes, thank
He let us borrow their garage where they were making hoops. Like, they were into hooping. So,
Hula hooping.
and they would sell a lot of them. And their production garage, they let us set up. And it was like a mile down the road from where we lived at Night Circle. It was at another
Up in the
apartment
fence.
complex. Yeah, so we would have to walk all our gear with the help of skateboards.
Oh, thank
and
God. I
stuff.
kept most of the drum stuff there. I would keep, like, my snare drum, my cymbals. So I'd carry some stuff with me sometimes.
Yeah, but it was a labor of love, practicing in the garage with no AC and walking there.
I
and
hogged
walking
the
back.
fan. We had one fan. I hogged that shit.
Drummer gets the fan.
Drummer always gets the fan.
Drummer gets hot. That's all, dude.
They're doing a lot of moving and stuff, exercise.
Yeah. So that's early Rocko. Definitely like 2016, 2017.
Yep.
A lot of covers, a lot of early stuff.
Before we even were able to practice at Jonathan's, we were just straight up practicing in our apartment. I didn't have the full drum set up, but I had a cajon that I was pretty much using as a bass drum. I want to say I had like a t-shirt over the snare drums. I had towels over the cymbals, but like it was technically a real ass drum set, and we had amps going, and our neighbors never said anything to us, which is unfortunate. I totally understand, because like what the fuck were we doing? But a few days into it, we got a knock on the door and a letter, and our first noise complaint was a warning that if it kept continuing, we were gonna get evicted. So that ended real soon. I think we at least the first show, maybe the second, was done just rehearsing like that. I remember being so worried about our first show because I hadn't like actually played the drums. Like I wasn't playing at full volume. I was like, how am I gonna do this? And then somehow it happened. Yeah. But then we started practicing at Jonathan's, and that was amazing.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it.
That's it.
Rock those first.
Everyone's got to fake it till they make it. That's it.
Were you a theater kid?
No, I just seemed like I should be. He was.
I technically was. I wasn't an actor. I was a technician. JPT Troop 3502 represent. Yeah, I mean, I was a stage manager at the end, so I was pretty into it, all of the technical aspects.
The first show, was it the Halloween 2016 house show, or was that already a couple shows deep?
That might have been a couple shows deep.
It was a couple shows. Yeah, there was maybe 2 or 3 shows before it, but yeah, Halloween house shows pretty darn far back.
I hosted one of those. That was
the
18.
Later. Yeah.
That was at my house. That was awesome. That was the biggest party I've ever thrown. We had like close to 100 people show up over the night. The cops multiple times. We had a band, Tongues of Fire from Asheville, North Carolina. They stopped by. They played 3 shows that night, including ours. So that was epic of them.
You guys ever played multiple shows in one night?
No. Almost. I think we had plans to do at least one doubleheader, but something happened and it didn't.
It just seems so daunting, like having to play a set, then tear down, set out.
It takes enough for me to play one show.
Yeah. There was one house show we played in 2018 where I played in 3 of the bands and Jack played in 2. And I didn't realize until like Chris Dreyfus, resident historian of the Orlando music scene, gave me the tape, but I played in Juicy Tapes, and then Rocko played, and Mother Moose played with Charlie. Yeah,
I was in Mother Moose.
Yeah, we were the rhythm section for Mother Moose, and so yeah, we played 3 sets in one night one time, but different bands.
Crazy. So you also play bass. I wanted to bring that up. You guys used to swap instruments mid-set, correct?
Yeah, like whoever wrote the song. Yeah, whoever wrote the song used to play guitar, and yeah, I mean, Cam just kind of slowed down on writing, and I kept, writing a lot, so it wound up being mostly me playing guitar, but I love bass. Bass is like my favorite instrument. Like,
one day I'm gonna buy a bass. One day. Yeah. I gotta buy real drums first.
What are you using now?
I've been using... It's funny because, like I said, when I was literally playing on I had a pot and a bucket our freshman year. That was pre-Rocko. But I was searching on Craigslist. Pro tip, always buy used gear. It's going to be pretty much the same quality for less than half the price, kids. Don't buy new stuff unless you have a lot of money. And even then, like, come on. But, so I was searching... A lot of the people on Craigslist want to charge like $1 million for a pile of shit, but I found this one dude, and the ad was for 3 different drum sets, like junker kits, and he was like $150 for all 3, and I just reached out to him, and I'm not trying to like hoard a bunch of crap because I was still in an apartment, and I was like, hey, can I just get one? And he's like, yeah, $50, and I was expecting like $100, but I've been playing the same $50 drum kit forever. It's no brand, there's no tags on it. I want to say it's probably made in Japan, hopefully. I mean, I honestly think it's made in Japan. It's supposed to be like a Ludwig, but it's not, obviously not. I want to say it's 3-ply. But as long as you got good drum heads and you know how to tune, you'll be pretty fine, and I've gotten away with it. Invest in your cymbals, invest in your snare drum, get some good pedals, get a good throne. Don't overlook your throne. I have an okay throne. I've been meaning to upgrade, but yeah, I just played on a pile of crap.
Cover your ass, dude. Get a good throne.
If you're uncomfortable while playing, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Someone once said the three biggest things to drumming is where you're what you're sitting on, and what your feet are on. That's the total feel, and your drumsticks too. Just what's actually the instruments in between you and the instrument.
Yeah, I mess around on drums, and yeah, like using someone else's kick pedal or like a hi-hat pedal, yeah, it's whack.
No thanks. There have been many times where people will be like, "Hey, you can use our stuff," and I'll be like, "Thanks," and I'll end up bringing my own anyway. It's just a comfort thing. You mess up less when you're more familiar with your instrument.
Did you use that same rinky-dink kit for the self-titled album?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We could have used a different drum kit, but I opted not to. I mean, it's just something I'm familiar with. I had to actually convince our producer. He wanted me to swap out the heads the day before, and I'm like, nah, I'm swapping them out a week before. We compromised on that week too, but I want to beat them in. I want to work them out. I want to make any adjustments like every day in between then and tune it up. So yeah, I just wanted to be familiar and comfortable as possible.
I couldn't even tell that you used such like a cheap set that, like, in your opinion, for that sound.
You can tune, and honestly, a lot of it is just like the actual musician. Like, you can make something sound good.
For sure, yeah. So you guys worked with Kyle Hoffer on that one, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Hoffer, my bad. Apologies.
Yeah. He engineered and produced it for us. Yeah.
What was it like working with him? Because you guys did DIY recordings before then, correct? For your previous?
We've recorded so many times.
So many times.
We have 4 releases. We've recorded over a dozen times. I lost count, but I mean, whenever you're DIY recording, not everything gets used.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple songs like Amen and Wildlife Crossing. Like, on the record, that's easily the 4th time we've recorded it. So it was the reason. So we had like a budget, and we're like, all right, we want to do an album. Cam's leaving. This is even pre-COVID. We were like, let's put an end to this chapter of Rocko with a record. And we had a budget, and with that budget, we could either like pay someone to help us record, or we could have bought like recording gear and continued doing it ourselves. And we opted for someone else to do it, and I think it's the right decision. I think there's so much that you don't have to think about when someone else is like setting up the mics and like getting the signal chain good and checking the gain staging, and like you're just like, oh yeah, I just gotta nail my part. Like, and like you can get in that headspace where you're like, actually I'm gonna try something new, because like when we were doing the DIY stuff, the only stuff we did completely on our own was our Adventure Dan EP. We did that all on our own with one USB
Casey
mic.
Produced that.
Yeah.
Casey's got a long history of producing music, so it paid off there.
Yeah, but like doing that, like I'd get so frustrated, like because I like getting it all set up and like not even knowing if it's gonna sound right, and then like if I mess up, it's like, oh my god, what a pain in the ass. So because we try to do everything in like long takes, like we don't necessarily like comping.
The goal is one take for sure.
Yeah, one take, yeah. So yeah, it was just really awesome to get to work with someone else who like knew what they were doing, and like being able to just stay in the creative space instead of getting in the technical area. Like, it's very distinct, and like we really wanted to capture the sound of us playing in a room together, and like it helped a lot to just be able to like play and like not worry about the rest, you know? Like, yeah.
Did you record live for that, or was it individual?
Hybrid.
A mix.
Yeah, we did. So like we did the drums. So
We did them live, pretty much.
we did the drums live. We had it all mic'd up in a room, and then Cam and I were also in that room. And Cam was DI'd, and then my amp was in another room. And we kept doing live full takes like throughout the day. We did a full day of live takes for all of it. And then like those are the drum takes we used. And then we went back and retracked the guitars and bass and vocals separately again. But it was so great. Like on the first day we were done, and like you could sit down, and like obviously like there was only one guitar, so we'd take the 2 guitar takes and pan them out. But like after 1 day's of work, you'd be like, wow, this is like a full like album, like we did it, like yeah. So pretty cool.
And you said, like, I had talked to you previously, you said that the David Byrne's How Music Works had a big impact on your approach to the recording this time around, as opposed to trying to keep it sounding as live as possible and just utilizing the studio as an instrument. So how did that kind of play into the recording process, and how did you guys feel about the end product?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only one who read that book. Yeah.
Give me a little background.
So David Byrne, writer for the Talking Heads, he has a book called How Music Works.
Chapter of this book, actually.
And that first chapter is really cool. It talks about how like basically animals like in the wild like make different sounds based on the ecosystem they live in, and like bands develop their sounds based on like the venues they play in coming up. So there's a whole nother chapter about recording, and the first thing he talked about was about how a lot of young bands like just want to get their live sound on record. Like they just want that 1-to-1 ratio, and it's impossible, basically, is what he said, and that hurt me a lot to read. He's like, basically it's impossible because a studio recording is just a totally different animal than being in a live room, like hearing things like yourself. So you can do it, like you can get that sound, but you're gonna have to finesse it, and you have to treat it like it's a different thing. Like you can't just be like, we're gonna get in a room and play together. So we kind of just like took, like in terms of how that affected the record, like it meant like okay, like we're gonna use these live drum takes, but we're gonna re-record the guitars, and we're gonna re-record the bass, and we're gonna get it sounding like really tight, and we're gonna still have that energy of the live take, but we're not necessarily like sacrificing the integrity of our art because we like comped a guitar solo. Like yeah, it's just letting go of that like false ideal of like, I don't know, having like real cred by doing something like one way, and like realizing you're making a piece of art, and like there's, you know, a ton of ways to skin a cat. So
Nice way to put it.
The live goal, recording live, the goal is definitely just to capture the energy. That's the best way to describe it.
Speaking of David Byrne, I'm gonna go on record here and kind of say that you resemble him. Now I was looking at it, physically you look like David Byrne.
He's an attractive man. I'll take it.
I didn't want to say that, but I mean, if it's on the table, have you ever gotten that before?
No.
No.
I've gotten a lot of Ezra Koenig from Vampire Weekend, Koenig, but that's about it. Never got David Byrne. It's very nice. I appreciate it.
I was taking my notes and I was like, wow, this guy actually does look like David Byrne.
I don't know, maybe there's a selection bias towards being a front person and looking a certain way. Who knows?
Speaking of inspirations and stuff like that, you mentioned that you guys were kind of, you know, you came up on wacky sounding stuff, you know, went through kind of like experimental phases, pop phases. I heard a lot of that in this album. I heard some Jeff Rosenstock in vocal delivery and arrangement. I heard some Animal Collective just in your guitar tone and kind of the approach to like timing and stuff like that. Definitely some Tokyo Police Club. So what were some of the influences going into this eulogy of a record as you've described it once or twice before?
Oh geez, I mean, as Casey mentioned earlier, how some songs like Amen have been recorded 4 times. Every one of these songs is from a different time period in our history, and just being like really passionate musicians, we're always finding new music. I mean, I had a pop punk phase, but like now I'm just into nerdy stuff. It's really hard to nail down any one influence. Of course, a big one is Modest Mouse. I think that's been a constant throughout all of the years. Definitely Modest Mouse.
Modest Mouse cover band?
Yeah, I think we're just the glorified Modest Mouse cover band.
We've covered a couple of Modest Mouse songs. In the early days, whenever we didn't have enough original stuff to fill a whole set, we would do like half originals, half covers. We've done several Modest Mouse covers.
We've done multiple Modest Mouse covers in one set. That's
Yep.
what I found listening back.
The tape.
Yeah, listening to the Dreyfus tapes. We've played multiple Modest Mouse covers in one set.
Let's
So
see,
yeah.
One Chance,
And
Shit Luck.
Out of Gas.
Out of Gas, I meant, not Shit Luck. Those are the only two?
Yeah, those
I
are the
guess
only
they're
two. Yeah.
We maybe got up to 8 total covers, maybe 10.
Yeah, we stopped playing covers pretty quickly, unless it was fun. Unless it was a fun song like Interpol. I forget what song we played by Interpol.
Did we do
Whatever.
an Interpol song?
Obviously, I think a huge influence.
Evil. We
Yeah,
did Evil for
Evil.
Pedro's birthday. A lot of times when people would host shows for us, and let's say there was a birthday going on, we would always make sure to play a cover that person enjoyed. We've done Evil by Interpol. We've done Flowers Everywhere by Balkans. I want to say we've done more too.
Yeah. But I think going into the record, a big band for us was like Palm. Like we love the band Palm.
Men's got a total Palm vibe, like Walkie Talkie.
Yeah, we ate Palm pretty hard. Yeah, I just wanted the record to be organic. I really like real sounding things. I really like found sounds, and like, I mean, a lot of that's Animal Collective, obviously. Like they'll just stick a mic on anything and pull it out.
How'd they get? I think in it was either Painting With or Merryweather. They got their bass tone, like the bass drum tone, by literally like beating a pool noodle.
Yeah, that was Painting With. Yeah, they had like a children's pool set up in the studio, and they just whack it. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, just as different. I feel like we'd get in different writing phases as time would go on, but like we were definitely a lot noisier back in the day. Like the Ding Dong Fang stuff. Like we used to have huge half stacks and like just blow people's ears out, and like as time got on, I think we got a little more refined. Like I think we started playing quieter, kind of like you could hear the vocals. I think that was a big deal for us as time went on, and listening to each other. Obviously, as we played together more, we learned to listen.
Speaking of hearing the vocals, I never knew. I learned well over half of the vocals once we recorded. I didn't know any of these words before. Whenever we'd play shows, I'd be like, all right, put the amps behind me, but I couldn't move the PA system ever. So I don't know what the hell he's saying.
He wouldn't put me in a monitor, I guess.
There've been a few times. There've definitely been shows afterwards where I was like, wow, I know the words to that song now, Casey.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
You're just playing tracks as a drummer. Sometimes you just don't catch the lyrics, I guess.
Yeah.
No. So.
Speaking of being noisy and stuff like that, you like to get pedals that quote unquote fuck your sound up.
You gotta. You gotta. Subtle pedals are bullshit. I mean, like, obviously, if you can play really well, then a compressor is gonna help you. But since I can't play well, like, I just want to like jack up the sound. You know, I love alien sounds. I love making sounds no one else can make, and like utilizing it in a creative way. But I always try to have a good part before I put a pedal on it. I never like write a part to have a pedal on it. It's got to be cool to start with. You know?
You write typically unplugged, right?
Yeah. Well, like half the songs were either like completely written like me and Jack in a room jamming it out, and then like others, you know, I'd like write it on my own and bring it in, and we'd change something here and there. But like stuff like Amen, that was like completely instrumentally like me and Jack in his bedroom. Yeah. And then I'd like with
every song's got a different story.
Exactly. But my favorite ones are like that, and I'd get the voice memo, and I'd go for like hours long walks listening to the voice memo over and over, and that's how I'd like write the lyrics and stuff. So yeah, it's a very collaborative process, and that's, now that we're in different areas, that's kind of why I had to stop. But yeah,
it ain't Rocko English without all three of us, for sure.
Exactly.
You guys already planning a reunion tour or something?
Tour might be a stretch. We'd love to play a show to celebrate the release. It's just difficult. But whenever we get the opportunity, we're gonna do it, guys.
So, sorry we're
stoned.
So what was the story behind that sign? Was that at a house party?
At a house show at Jin and Logan and a couple other people's house.
Jin's recorded us before.
Shout out to Jin. Jin helped us demo out this record. He was there. He was the first person to record Milkbone and Hey Asshole and stuff, and he helped us re-record Wildlife and All Men and Nancy Reagan, which we haven't released, but people who've been to our shows know that's a great Cam song. And yeah, that was just a sign they had in their house, and they used to put on the best house shows. Like, Jin is crazy because he absolutely like loves music and loves recording it and producing it, but he's like completely sober. He's just like high on life. So he would organize the best house shows. Like, he'd have signs about parking, like where not to park, and he'd always be available if like cops showed up, and he'd talk to the neighbors and like help like sick people out. But yeah, those shows were excellent. Yeah.
That was a really fun show. That might have been the first show where someone came up to me afterwards and he's like, damn, you're a snare drum. And like, if you're a drummer, you know, that's pretty much the biggest compliment you can get. I mean, I remember at that show I specifically spent a little bit extra time tuning it, but it was the room, and it was coming from someone that is a musician, so I was like very, very appreciative.
So like psychs in the band and sound and drugs, and how does that play into the music and like your guys' relationship? I mean,
yeah, obviously we're in college together, so like that's like a part of growing up together, and like how we got into music, obviously, like it kind of opens your mind up to be receptive to art and like really have it resonate with you. And I don't know. It just lets you take things apart in a different way. And I mean, that's part of why we formed the band, was we were like, all right, we can do this. Yeah. Like, we would listen to records together, you know, and be like, actually, like, we want to do this, and like, this is done by people, and like, we can figure it out too.
That's the biggest thing about music that definitely is reminding me of a time, but it's just people doing it. Anyone can do it. Of course, it's always going to have a different level of quality, but you can just do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah. And like, obviously as we get older, we're probably consuming less cannabis as a rule. But like back in the day, like that's how we would write a lot of stuff and figure it out. But I don't know. There's a place for everything. Obviously, drinking at shows like kind of can change things for you.
And many times, Casey's like, "Don't drink, don't smoke," and I'm just like, "Yeah."
I was trying to have some air of professionalism, but you know, like any kind of mind altering, I think is good for creativity. I don't think it's a crutch, and I don't think it'll make you good. Like, there's tons of people who are stoned writing bad music.
It's just it's a different perspective.
And you can get there a lot of ways. Like, right now I get there through, like, exercise and stuff. Like, it's kind of just giving yourself a new experience and, like, allowing yourself to be open. Because a lot of art is just not censoring yourself. You know, it's like tuning into this feeling, it's tuning into whatever's happening, or tuning into like this riff or fill you hear in your head, and like not stopping yourself from doing it and workshopping it until it's actually like as good as you imagined it. So yeah.
So pot, right? So yeah, right? So pot.
My dad.
I'm trying to be employable, Andrew, but yes.
No, yeah, professionalism and everything, but it plays such a big role, like in a lot of musicians' mindsets, and a lot of people do see it as kind of like a crutch. And I think it's kind of, I'm gonna say brave, that you would go so far as to say that, you know, you're cutting back and you feel comfortable doing that and putting that energy out there, and maybe even spreading that energy, because so many people feel like it is a crutch and they can't be creative or they need it, and it gets like this weird rap where people don't think you can get addicted to it and all this stuff, but it's a new perspective, and I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's like when you're a teenager and you get high, it's like a new experience and you feel like you're like opening yourself to something you haven't got before. But like I don't know. You can definitely use it to close yourself off as time goes on, you know? Like, there's definitely a time and place for everything, and you can totally abuse it. So, yeah. It's just hard growing up during criminalization, you know, being told it's the worst thing in the fucking world, and never, you know, people go get, like, shit-faced at bars and, like, and destroy themselves. And so when weed's not bad, you're like, oh, how could this be bad? But, you know, it's a more subtle thing as time goes on, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, do whatever you want to do. Do what feels good.
Be, as my mom says, be smart, be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen to yourself. If something in your brain's telling you to change something, like,
Yes.
don't be afraid. Don't, like...
And that can take time, too.
Mm-hmm. Take a lot of time.
Yeah, all the time in the world. So, most of the cats, you guys are big fans of cats. Most of the cats photoed throughout the years that you guys have been together have been yours? Either foster or...
Yeah. Well, I got into fostering after the band during COVID, but yeah, I didn't have cats growing up, but my partner Dempsey has always been into cats, so definitely we got a little bit of Rocko English vibes, but Jack's very allergic.
They have two great cats, Josie and Poncho. As soon as I came in, Josie recognized me. Poncho was a little bit spooked, but as soon as I got down, he was like, oh, I'm ready for some pets now, Jack. You just gotta watch your hands afterwards.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
Yeah. God, I love animals. I didn't really have... I mean, I had pets at my dad's, but I mostly stayed with my mom, so I never really had that responsibility for another thing, and I was really afraid of it. And, like, honestly, it has its drawbacks. Like, Poncho has a UTI. We've probably spent close to $1,000 on between the two of us, but, you know, it's good. It's good to have something unconditionally love you and take responsibility for it. I think it's part of growing up.
Speaking of animals.
Yeah, beautiful dog.
I love dogs.
Yeah.
Dogs are great. Animals are great.
They are.
Yeah, we were on the car ride. We spent a good time talking about, I'll just give them a shout out, the Urban Rescue Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, that's similar because it's basically DIY animal rescue. We're talking about DIY music, and he's got like kangaroos, he's got chickens, he's got a dog, he's got a bunch of animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I take you guys all the way back?
Take me back.
So, the name.
Uh-huh.
So, like, Rolling Rocks beer, the bench, which is it? Was it something else?
It's all right. So we've gone through many different names. It's definitely it's, I guess I have to choose my words a little bit here. It's inspired by the local UCF region, Orlando, State Farm insurance agent, Rocko English. And we went through many names, and just one day we were driving, and like his bench signs. I think I was in a car in the back seat.
We did not own cars at the time.
Yeah, and I just see the sign. I'm like, wait, that's perfect. If we just change the second C to a K, it's Rocko English, and that's where the name came from State Farm insurance agent. I hope he doesn't. It's been a long enough time. He doesn't care.
He knows about us.
He doesn't care.
He hasn't said anything ever in the past.
Have you met him?
No.
No, I've heard he's not the greatest guy though.
Yeah, we haven't heard the best reviews about him as a person, but I'm sure he's good enough to let us keep using this name, you know?
And that's all we can ask for in this crazy world.
Yeah, I mean, before we were Harrison Richard.
You get it?
We're just we liked Harry Dick, you know. And then someone had an open mic. We played an open mic with a cajon.
The one and only time you'll catch me playing a cajon, guys. Never again.
Someone called us Harrison Ford. They read it wrong. I think that's still a great name.
No, I wasn't playing a cajon. I was playing the melodica at that show. That was at Wackadoos. Rest in peace, Wackadoos.
Rest in peace. But yeah. So we had a lot of bad names, and then once we had Rocko English,
They clicked.
Gotta have a great name.
It's the foundation of any band.
Exactly.
What are some of your favorite band names, like, that you listen to? Or don't even listen to, just maybe you like the band name and you hate the music.
Oh, dude, one of my favorite bands of all time, one of the best names of all time, Perfect Pussy, dude. Like, come on. Like, they were just so, like, they're They were a very confrontational, like, noise punk band, and, like, you got that from, like, the name. Like, they didn't give a fuck. I think that's a really good name. I'll give one answer for a really good name. Perfect Pussy, dude. You got the alliteration, too.
I can't really think of anything right now. Band names are so difficult. I have a list of them going on in my phone right now.
You guys were working on alternate band names like right when we walked up, right?
New band names.
No, just in case for just in the future, so we won't need to spend months like cycling through different band names. I'll have a list of them, and we'll reach consensus to be like, all right, this is the band name.
Yeah. You could always just random number generator it.
Yeah. That's never fun.
No.
Who did that? Childish Gambino. Didn't he get that from a Wu-Tang generator? Mm-hmm.
Wu-Tang and the 12 tracks cover album that you were gonna record with samples of.
Oh my god, you're going through my Instagram shit posts. Oh no. What did I say? What?
Some lecture about teens and their first sexual encounters.
Oh, John Green.
Yes.
Famous young adult author John Green writing about teens losing their virginity. Yeah. It was yeah.
What was his science channel?
Oh, that's not John, that's Hank. That's his brother, SciShow.
I always thought they were the same person.
No, I read a lot of John Green growing up, and then like a little bit later on, I don't know. It was just thinking about writing teens fucking each other. I was a little weirded out, so I just decided to post about it one day. Just like cancer-ridden teens taking each other's virginity in Amsterdam, you know. So, yeah.
It doesn't get much more romantic than that.
No, it's beautiful. It made the whole nation cry, you know.
You guys do a lot of reading besides teens losing their virginity?
Do you read, Jack?
Not a whole lot of reading. I have to read enough for school. One thing that me and Casey both read is A Song of Ice and Fire, which is more popularly known as Game of Thrones. Yep. The show was really good up until season 5, and then it just like people say like, oh, the last season was bad. No, it was bad like at season 5, guys. You should honestly, if you enjoyed the show, you should really do yourself a favor and read the books. They're so much better. You'll never know the ending if you read the books, though. But oh well.
Yeah. Do you have a Deadpool on George R.R. Martin? Like, and do you think he's gonna finish?
Oh, I think
Winds of Winter will come out, but Dream of Spring, no way.
No way he finishes. I don't want that to get back to him. I'd never say that to his face. Like, enough people call him fat, and you know.
Stop using your typewriter, bro.
He uses DOS, dude. He types with 2 fingers. So, and these massive books, yeah. But I guess I read a lot of fiction and nonfiction. I steal a lot of lyrics from like nonfiction books. There's a lot of the early Rocko stuff is like from like my ecology textbooks. Like I'd find some like concept that really fascinated me.
Spot.
Yeah, Sweet Spot was written in
a particle and a wave.
Yeah, like I was learning about like the dual nature of light, and then like instead of taking notes, I was like, I'm gonna start writing lyrics. Yeah. So yeah.
How many of Rocko English's lyrics were written in the middle of a class?
Oh. So many. It's a college band. Yeah, like definitely like Sweet Spot and Ding Dong Fang and Everything's Fine. A lot of that was written in school.
I've come up with rhythms in class. Yeah. Write them down on my phone using some sort of heuristic for it. Like I'll have like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, then I'll have like X's and letters below it.
Yeah. It's
What am I gonna do? Whip out voice memos and like start beatboxing in the middle of class? I don't think so.
It's a little bit harder to be creative as a drummer in class.
Yeah.
Good thing we like counting. Jack and I love metronomes. That's our thing. A lot of local bands don't use them.
Love them, I guess. I mean, you need them, but at the same time, you don't. A goal of probably both of ours is to record live without a metronome. That was one of the things we wanted to do for this album, but recording situations changed, and that was no longer feasible.
Yeah. I wanted to do overdubs, I wanted to put samples on that, you know, weren't just sound, but maybe contributed to the song. Like, I'm proud of that when that happens, when you can use a sample to, like, elevate the actual song content. So, It's pretty cool. Pretty cool living in the space age and walking around with a phone and pointing it at stuff, and then it's on the record, you know? So.
Noise recording. You guys mess with that a lot, or just kind of like here and there? Like field recording.
Yeah. Jack had a skateboard sample on Everything's Fine. That's pretty cool.
It's probably the only one.
Yeah.
Mine.
I recorded, I don't know, whenever I would walk in the woods, that's a lot of the background noise on the actual album. There's a tea kettle on there somewhere.
Those are all authentic. Original content.
Yeah. And then, you know, there's some stuff we would like steal.
There's some jokes on there.
Yeah, we'd steal from YouTube videos or like interviews and stuff we like. But yeah, I always, if I hear a good sound, I'm going to point my phone at it, and then you save it up for a couple of years and you can glue an album together with those samples. But yeah.
So speaking of samples, the bank rant on "Where's My Guitar, Asshole," right?
Yeah, that's Jack's sample.
Yeah, that's definitely me. That is from a video called "The Fresh Prince of Blair." It's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but there's like letters missing. And yeah, that's like a 20-minute video.
It's YouTube poop.
It's YouTube poop. It's the best YouTube poop, though. So honestly, if you thought that was funny, you should watch that video.
Yeah.
Did you have to clear that? Did you run into any problems with that, or no?
We haven't yet. Where's some wood?
Clear anything. No, and like there was one song like before Kill Bill Sound, we were gonna use the Kill Bill sample, and we kind of backed out, and like, but otherwise, I don't know. I don't think anyone's gonna care. I think
Free publicity.
free exposure. You know, enough people did it to us. Now we can do it back. No, but yeah, we just live in an age where you can literally throw anything on a record, and it's like goes back to that David Byrne book about like use what's available to you, and like you don't have to abuse it. You don't have to. It's nice to have that timeless factor of like this can happen whenever, but at the same time, if there's like a YouTube poop that means a lot to you, like you might as well throw it on the last song, and it kind of fit thematically in a weird way.
And
like,
yeah, afterwards we're like, yeah, it does fit.
It's the same way with like I'll write a part and then Jack had a rhythm, and like you just throw it together, and they were written independently, and then there's this synergy that comes together from like jamming with people, and taking advantage of that is like all you can do as an artist. It's just being open to that energy and like channeling it. So yeah,
Channeling energy. Your drag performances, was that always a thing, or who inspired you? Like, was that?
Yeah, so I don't know. I definitely towards the end of Rocko was gonna stop wearing dresses. It's weird because I'm like a cishet white man, and like I don't know. We got a lot of love from like the queer community in Orlando because of it, and it always, I don't know. I would always have to qualify like we're all three straight like men, like, and so it kind of felt weird as time went on, but like I've always just had this like fascination with dresses, and it felt like I was getting into like a character, because I used to be very nervous before shows. Even in the first show, we all wore like hats and stuff. Like we had like a good time.
Yeah.
And so like it was definitely just like getting into a character, and like also a way to get people to pay attention in a bar and stuff. Like for better or for worse, like men in public, like it's considered unusual to wear dresses. So like, and that's part of why I started feeling weird about it at the end. It's like, are you playing into the stigma? Like, are you like by taking something that's not like my gender expression? I don't know. Yeah. I might be overthinking it, but I think it's an important dialogue to have. But it comes from a very innocent place of just like wanting to express myself, and like it's already so opening myself emotionally to like sing these lyrics in front of people. Like you might as well kind of like bear it all and be like, this is it, like, you know. So complicated relationship with the dress. no regrets, you know.
Got a few of them. My mom gave him one of the dresses.
That's the thing. People would give me dresses. Like, they would egg me on. I got a dress from Jack's mom. My friend Maya would give me a dress. Alex, our friend who took some early pictures of us and has always been a huge like supporter of our music, they gave me a good dress. And, you know, you just kind of pick them up as you go along. So, yeah.
Did you ever wash any of these dresses? No answer. No answer.
They were washed way less than they should have been. They were
only worn for a little bit at a time.
They were worn during the sweatiest parts of my life. Yes. So, you know, it's nice to be able to change out when you get back into the audience, you know. There's that benefit. So, yeah.
I got a note in my phone for recording. It was like, bring extra socks, I'm wet. Bring extra underwear, I'm very wet.
You gotta have extra clothes. You gotta have dry underoos, you know. But yeah, you know, just growing up in a time. It's a weird time, you know. Like growing up, like being gay was semi-normalized, but like in my family, you know, like it still wasn't like an acceptable thing. So a lot of me growing up was realizing like it's okay to be whatever you want, and like I think it's kind of an embrace of that in a way. So I always meant it in a respectful way. I hope it came off that way. That's pretty much it. I don't know.
Last question before we kind of wind down here.
Okay. Get some Chinese food. What? We're getting Chinese food after this. Yes.
Chuan Lu, baby.
Big fans of Chuan Lu.
Oh, they used to have a location like next to UCF that was close to my home, and I would get there all the time, and I would bring everyone over there. And then COVID happened and they closed, and we would have to drive all the way out here to get it, and now we're out here, so we're gonna get some.
Yeah. And you haven't had it? You've never had Chuan Lu? Oh.
I hope it impresses.
Yeah. We're glad to share it with you.
You guys like Chinese takeout and stuff like that?
We love food.
Yeah. We like eating. I think that maybe it ties into the pot, but
The pot.
yeah, it's okay. It's just what parents call weed, you know?
Pot just sounds cool.
It does.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Call it weed?
Yes.
Cannabis?
Cannabis, yeah, let's be educated.
Yeah. That's what I feel like. That's what like people who really should stop smoking weed call it cannabis. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a medical cannabis user. Not to shit on people who legitimately use cannabis as medicine, but you know, there's people out there in their basements who are calling it a medicine, and they're kind of using it as a crutch to not face issues. So. That's who should stop calling it cannabis, is what I'm saying.
Basement dwellers.
Nothing wrong. I love a basement dweller. My best friends are basement dwellers. It just doesn't hurt to, you know, come out into the fresh air and like go for a run, you know? And weed doesn't always help with that, so.
Another one I always like to call it was, I went through a phase where I called it greenery.
Ooh. What's that?
Devil's lettuce. The devil's lettuce. Australian guacamole.
That one's interesting.
Even classic.
Swag. I got some swag.
Candy. If you're around other people, you can just be like candy.
What would Avery call it? Schweed? We'd be in public, just on a bus, and he'd be like, "Do you guys want to smoke schweed?" And like, yeah. Now we're adults and we can't do it as much. So.
Yeah, if any of my future employers are listening to this, you didn't hear any
Give
of
me
this.
a test.
Yeah,
Let me piss for you, you know?
I think by then it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Why would you want to wish bodily harm, grievous bodily harm, against Jerry Seinfeld?
Oh, dude, he's a fucker. He's a fucker. He ruins things. Dude, if anything, okay. I'm a huge Larry David fan, you know. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it's what I got into first. And like, so I watched Curb before I watched Seinfeld, and then I went back to Seinfeld, and like, Jerry Seinfeld is so fucking annoying. Like, and he was dating a high schooler. Like, I get it was the 90s, but he was like fucking a high schooler, like at peak peak Seinfeld popularity. And America was just like, yeah, funny man, do that. Like, he's definitely, I think, the least talented member of the Seinfeld cast, and for that, I have wished nothing but bodily. And have you seen comedians in cars getting coffee? He's just like an insufferable person. Like, I don't know. I hate Jerry Seinfeld.
Do you think at this point it's almost like a character, like Jerry Seinfeld?
Do you think he's doing a bit?
Maybe. I mean, he's a comedian. He's dedicated.
Yeah, and his comedy, I don't know. I don't like observational comedy either. You know, he's like the prototypical airplane food kind of joke writer. Yeah, I got a lot of hate for Jerry, and he's into like deluxe like sports cars. Like, what an uninteresting hobby. Like you don't have to have any talent to drive like, you know, a fancy car, you know, or to collect them. You just need money. So
Cars look cool.
Cars look cool.
Okay. Cars look cool.
Mate.
Yeah, we commented it on your car because it's like the perfect touring car.
You got the best. The Cube. You've got the best band car possible.
We played.
Aware?
Oh yeah. We used to stuff like 3 amps in there, a whole drum kit, and 3 members of a band. So, and a photographer sometimes. So
That's goals. We could, if we would sacrifice one large object, we could all fit in one car. But we tended to take 2 just for comfort, and sometimes we bring friends back home with us or whatever. They were drinking at the show or something.
Yeah.
You need room for the homies.
You gotta bring the homies to the show, because otherwise you're playing for the other bands.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, though.
So you guys didn't grow up like in local scenes. Like that was kind of a later thing.
Yeah, and speaking local scenes, Orlando is so amazing. You mentioned how we've been all around Florida, and just playing in other places in Florida just makes you so thankful we like came up in the Orlando scene. It's so welcoming to any kind of genre. It's so appreciative. There's so many different venues to play at.
Different venues, different bands, like different sounds to hear. But yeah, I'm very jealous of people who are like, yeah, I used to go to these DIY shows in middle school and like be scared, and like in high school I started joining bands. Like we played our first show when we were like 19. Like we feel like we had a delayed start, but never too late. You can always start a band. It's the cool thing. But yeah, once we got into it, I don't know.
Music is more accessible now than ever before.
Yeah.
I guess we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Rocko English till you die. You guys are one more time.
Casey.
And I'm Jack.
And
Cam is with us in spirit. I'm sad Cam's not here. I'm sure he'd have a lot to add to this conversation. Yeah, he's the best. He's the best bass player, dude. He rocks. So we're very fortunate to have each other, and we're very fortunate that people supported us enough that we got to play for years and make a record. So super grateful. Take none of it for granted. Enjoy every second. Yeah.
all right, thanks for being on the show, I guess.
Thanks for having us.